to come. The best is yet to come. Because together we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts, and they are incredible. Plus, we're going to check out President Trump basically confirming Q via Dan Scavino's Twitter account, and we're going to take a look at a bunch of other breaking news stories that are really important for you guys to pay attention to. So I want you guys to stick around and check this out. Hi, my name's Craig. Welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. You guys know the drill. I say thank you if you've hit that subscribe button. It doesn't take a lot, guys, and it really helps out the channel. Just come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Then you got to check that all box so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. We left off at Q post 3890. We're picking up at 3891, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. The first thing that Q wants us to look at is this graphic that was given to us by, I believe, an Anon, or no, Q gave us this graphic actually that actually has an Anon's postings that we're going to take a closer look at. Now, first you see this tweet from President Trump that is confirming Q. Now, what is that, you ask? Well, we had this post from President Trump right here saying, who knows what this means, but it sounds good. And what post are we referring to? We're referring to Dan Scavino's post right here, where he puts up this picture saying, it's President Trump playing the violin saying, my next piece is called Nothing Can Stop What Is Coming. So President Trump is obviously telling us that this is being a that this is a confirmation of Q, just another one of the many Q proofs that exist out there that the mainstream media choose to willfully ignore because they understand that once Q is confirmed, it will be the end of their stranglehold. And as we continue to break their stranglehold in real time, it will be the end to their stranglehold over the public, because as Q has told us in the past, once this question is asked, once President Trump is asked, is QAnon real or not, and he has to say yes or no, the one thing the media is most terrified of is President Trump saying yes, because if they say yes, then they have to basically back up all the claims that they've made on this board, right? And I have to really think that the biggest reason for them not asking the question is mainly because they don't want to draw attention to this. They're trying to suppress it. They're trying to suppress information in this country and abroad because they don't want the power of the American people, the power of the people of the world to stand up against such a few small group of elites. Remember, these globalists who think they're so powerful and strong are only a few people, and they use these very, very deceitful tactics to deceive, propagandize, manipulate, demoralize. And they use these vast fortunes that they've amassed through corruption and bribery and treason and sedition to continue to prop themselves up as these, whatever you want to call them, oligarchs, cabal. A lot of them believe in Satanism and evil Luciferianism. And that's what their religion is. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the episode. So if you want to stick around, there's a segment we do called God's Grace is Greater at the end of this episode, where we're going to talk about, some of these specific things in reference to some of the scripture that we're going to look at. But look, this is what President Trump's doing. He's basically saying, look, who knows what this means, but it sounds good to me, meaning Q is good. Wow. Okay, another proof of Q. I guess nothing to see here. Q says nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. Rig for red. Q. So think about where we've heard this phrase before, right? Nothing can stop what is coming. Oh, okay. We've seen this quite a few times, going all the way back to November 20th of 2018. One of the ones that stood out to me was right here, where Q was asked, Mueller will face charges re uranium one, or Q said, excuse me, and he's working to save himself. Q. So the Uranium One deal, the Clinton Foundation, and what happened with those emails on that private server is really what they're most afraid of getting out there, which is why you see Hillary and Biden and all these people putting themselves in these political races and surrounding the races. And I think Hillary's going to come in the race, obviously. At this point, it seems fairly obvious because Joe is just not there. So there's no way he's going to win. So they're going to have to resort to any thing else, in my opinion, to make sure that he doesn't actually get the nomination, because the guy can't even remember what state he's in, what day it is, where he is, what he's doing, who he's talking to. He doesn't even know who's standing behind him. He thinks his wife's his sister's his wife. I don't even know. I can't keep up with that guy. But I know this, that Q told us back that why do the Clintons remain in control of many still in power? It's blackmail. The Clinton family is working overtime, panic in D.C. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. Now the coronavirus comes out and conveniently has all of these effects that we're going to talk about later in this episode that seem to benefit the power elite who want to shut down travel, want to shut down the spread of information, want to shut down the ability for people to come together and stand in opposition to this corruption. That's one of the scariest parts about the coronavirus, in my opinion, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. And for now, we're looking at this. You see that Q's told us a bunch of times, nothing can stop what is coming. And it's obvious at this point that not only is Q real, but the mainstream fake news media is actively covering up what information that is being presented here, because they understand how it will affect not only their industry, but the people who control them's, fortunes. And you have to understand there are fortunes at stake here. And one of the ways that they were basically taking everything out of our country, extorting it, robbing it, whatever you want to call it, was through these covert means of blackmail and leverage that was used with all of these themes that we continue to see over and over again, whether it's with the Satanism or the child trafficking and human trafficking. It's evil. We're standing up against evil, yet there are people who are actively trying to protect this evil. And listen, all I can say is it's really disgusting and evil what they're doing. And Q is obviously very real, but they don't want to talk about it. And then they talk about rig for red. That's what I was thinking about when I thought about the coronavirus today. I just want to give you my theory on it, and then you guys let me know in the comments what you think. But my theory on the rig for red thing is it's a term obviously used for submarines when they go underwater, and it to turn all the lights red so that you keep your night vision, so that when you look through the periscope and it's nighttime, you're not looking and bright light is making your eyes unable to see. So think about this, right? Rig for red could also mean they were rigging this country to be taken over by the red, communist Chinese. And that's what I read it as too. Q says things have double meanings. Rig for red is something they were trying to do. And what is the coronavirus? Coming out of Wuhan, China, just in time to affect us all the way up to the election, enough time to put the stock market in a downward spiral, enough time to quarantine people and shut down the ability for President Trump to have rallies, right? Political rallies, because the Democrats have the weakest candidates ever. So they don't want to have big crowds. So how do you get rid of big crowds? You release a deadly disease. Oh, wow. And then you blow it out of proportion using your fake news talking head puppets, right? Now, I'm not saying that the coronavirus isn't dangerous. I'm not saying that it's, but as everyone keeps pointing out, it seems to be just as dangerous as the flu. So if you're going to tell me that it's the most dangerous epidemic since the Spanish influenza of, 1918, okay, fine. But we've advanced far greater as far as medical leaps and bounds from where we were back then. And our ability to control and contain a lot of these contagion events is much better than it was before. So when I read rig for red and Q saying nothing can stop what is coming and President Trump retweeting it, it's basically them reaffirming that not only are we going to take down all of these corrupt politicians, these corrupt complicit actors, and is Q going to be proven, and will Q be proven true in the future, but also, they are trying to use the Chinese against us, and it's a weaponization, I think, maybe. So you guys let me know what you think down in the comments. Of course, Q gives us this post from Donald Trump talking about, in the next post here, about the Obama-Biden administration being the most corrupt administration in the history of our country. And if you think about it, what does it all mean? Well, President Trump is telling us. Now, I don't know about you, but I trust and believe in the President of the United States, right? So when the president tells me something, we have co-equal branches of government. President Trump's the head of the executive. He tells me that given the information that he's able to see as the commander-in-chief of this United States of America, that the previous administration was the most corrupt administration in the history of our country. I believe him. Not only do I believe him, but I have to ask the question, how far-reaching did their corruption go? Was it just Joe Biden enriching himself getting his family big deals, or were they actually selling special access program information to our foreign adversaries? Were they actually undermining the ability of our military to build itself up and to defend our country? Were they actually helping to execute a plan that would put China as the world superpower above the United States within a matter of a few years? This is really what we have to look at. And I think it's really telling when President Trump puts a tweet out like this, that it's the truth. President Trump wouldn't say this stuff if it wasn't the truth. He's the president of the United States of America, and I trust what he tells the American people, as in us. So, you know, the fake news, I don't trust the fake news media. I don't trust CNN. I don't trust MSNBC. I don't even trust Fox News that much, to be quite honest with you. Only a few people on there I actually like. But I do trust the President of the United States. I do trust the people he's been bringing in. And I do know that our country is run by not only a patriot in the White House, but there are a lot of patriots out there who work with and for President Trump. And it is incredible to watch the patriots come together to save this country from people who are really trying to destroy it, in my humble opinion. Q tells us silent running is a tactic used when. So I think that's just referring to Q's been quiet for the last few days. Obviously, we've had this coronavirus, and the reason it's been silent is because things are actually happening behind the scenes, and we can't forecast our next move. We have to keep them guessing. And you know what's probably the most terrifying time for these deep state cabal, globalists, whatever, oligarchs who've tried to take over our country and use these covert means and blackmail and child trafficking and all types of other sick, disgusting, evil, satanic things to corrupt our country and to destroy it from within. But the scariest time for them is when they don't know what's happening, right? And think about that. That's just true in life in general. What the thing that a lot of people fear most is fear of the unknown, right? So remember, that's what we're doing here, and we're forcing them to take these drastic actions. And you see things like California, Washington, California, where I am now, you can tell that this is the front that the infiltration was coming through. And there are people actively working inside of these governments, these state governments, to, it seems, exacerbate and amplify a crisis that shouldn't be pushed this far and wide, but it is. So there's nothing you can really do about that. And Q is telling us that they have to go quiet for very specific reasons. Now, to remind everybody that this is really a global, worldwide, movement, I want to show you this. Q gave us this tweet, and you can see all these pictures here, but it's from this, I guess, Rainbow Fairy saying they made a thread as an attempt to gather as many Q-related photographs from around the world as they can, anons with signs standing, and so on and so forth. So you can see all of these Q, mentions here, but this is a worldwide phenomenon for a good reason, because there are more of us than there are of them, and we collectively can stand up and overthrow these oligarchs, this cabal of satanic evil that exists, right? We can do it if we all come together and remind ourselves that what's most important is standing for what's right, doing the right thing, living righteously, as the Bible would say, and making sure that we help others and not try to destroy it or act in a way that is corrupt, or in a way that is going to undermine the ability of our world globally to grow in a positive way. Now, I understand everybody says, it's kumbaya, we can't all get along, there's time for war, there's time for peace. I get all that. But at the same time, look at how global this movement is. And look at how many people it's brought together under a pretty simple doctrine. The doctrine of President Trump's philosophy of MAGA, making America great again, is making the world great again. Right? If we can actually have a standard of law, if we can actually globally not just be the police force for these third world countries that get invaded by the military industrial complex, but also be an actual beacon for hope against corrupt Chinese communists, against the Russians, against the Iranians, against these other oppressive regimes that exist around the world globally, who have been not only used and infiltrated by certain elements of these globalist cabals, but then also they get co-opted through the United States. And that's really what the biggest problem is, I think, more overly. So this is really, I think, an important thread. You can look through it for yourself. I mean, there's a lot of pictures here, so you can see that, you know, they put this together and Q wanted us to go look at it. My favorite one is obviously the one at the naval station in Gitmo, where we have these guys saying, "We are Q." And trust me, I know there are plenty of patriots right now who are working very hard on a daily basis to make sure that our country is protected and that the truth gets out. So just mark my words on that. This movement will not stop no matter what. So Q says, plus comments per MSM fake news. Person in the basement, LARP, who simply asked questions on a forum image board that generates continued massive thousands. MSM attacks and worldwide movement, great awakening. Logical thinking. Back channels are important when the news itself is untrustworthy, controlled. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Q says it perfectly, sums it up better than I could. Look, the mainstream media continues to attack QAnon and says it's just a LARP. Some kid sitting in this basement on 4chan who's trying to sow division by spreading conspiracy theories. No, the people sowing division by spreading conspiracy theories are on MSNBC and CNN and sometimes on Fox News and ABC and CBS and all the rest, right? Those are the people who are trying to sow division by propping up and pushing fake conspiracy theories, whereas we are the news now, as Q says, and we are bringing information to the public to let them use their own logical thinking to say, well, you know, it doesn't look right when all of our politicians go into office basically with a few $100,000 in the bank and leave with, you know, multiple millions, tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. No, I'm sure they're just really good at their job. I'm sure the $140,000 a year they make in the Senate or the House or wherever, I'm sure that is how they make $120 million and have $5 million mansions everywhere. I'm sure it's all just very normal and on the up and up, and there's nothing to see there, right? So I think that's what it is. And Q's telling us that the news itself is untrustworthy. And it's sad that that's where we've come to as a society. But you think about it, and I talked about this in the last video, the people that Google and YouTube tell us are the authoritative news sources, these people can't even do simple math. They thought that if you took $500 million, you could give everyone in America $1 million. Well, guess what? $1 million, if there's 500 of them, means you could only give 500 people $1 million. These people are so, I'm not a mathematician, but these people are so dull that they don't even understand that they go live with that and report it as real news, and then they just ignore it and, oh, well, you know, whatever. Who cares? You know, it's just a little math mistake. It's insane to me, and it goes back to the propaganda machines of the past. You know, if you say a lie enough times, it becomes true, and that's what they bank on. If they get enough of these organizations together lying about the same thing over and over again, because they're all owned and controlled by the people who are implicated in the news that they're trying to cover up as being crooks and criminals and corrupt, then they'll be able to deceive the people of the world globally. And that's what we're standing in opposition to. So that's why they are terrified of the fact that the information is getting out to us, right? And then finally, and Anon says, God wins. And Q says, basically replies by posting that. So just to let you know as well, I thought this was very interesting because my last video here, I actually did the hashtag God wins. So who knows? I'm just telling you guys, you know, there are not a lot of coincidences around all the stuff that we're covering here, and God does win in the end. And that's how we beat this evil, is by putting our faith in God first, and then doing our best to support and help our country and to expose this criminal class of individuals who think they can basically control the world. And I don't think they're going to do too well, as we see major events happening on a daily basis like today with the stock market and other major stories. So we're going to start, though, talking about the coronavirus real quick with a few more, because that was the last Q post. And as soon as we get more Q posts, I'll obviously let you know. But I want to get into a few news stories here. And first off, we have China recording more fully recovered coronavirus patients than people still infecting, suggesting it is overcoming the epidemic. So a simple way to understand this is that we know what President Trump and everybody's been trying to tell us about the fact that we have to be careful. We have to wash our hands and avoid, we can self-quarantine ourselves if we feel that we're getting sick, and do all the necessary things that we have to make sure that we don't spread this disease, this virus. And that in and of itself is a great way to fight this. And we shouldn't be panicking, and we shouldn't be, doing anything other than what we would normally be doing, and just being more cautious about it, being more aware of our surroundings. If people are coughing near us, maybe take a step over. If you touched a rail, go put some Purell on your hands or go wash them. Simple things that we can do to help keep the spread of infection at bay. Now, thinking about what this story is saying, it says that we're coming out of this, but this is being used as an excuse to tank global economies. This is being used as an excuse to have these supply chain disruptions. It's being used as an excuse to do a lot of things that may or may not be, detrimental in the short term, but on the long term, it seems are going to set us up for a much more strong position in the future. Now, what do I mean by that? It's forcing us to recognize some of these shortcomings that are happening inside of, like having most of our manufacturing base coming out of China, and then having them have that power over our country is really dangerous to our national security, especially in the midst of a trade war. To have them manufacturing the majority of our medical supplies and our antibiotics and all of that stuff is something we have to take very seriously. And it's just a diversion, I think. The fake news media is trying to blow this up into the next Spanish influenza epidemic, because not only would that benefit them, it would give them 24-hour news cycle, it gives them the ability to scare people into watching their programming, but it would give them the ability to control the masses through fear. And Q has talked about that in the past. They use fear as a tool to control people. They look at people as sheep to be herded. And what do you use to herd sheep? You use these sheepdogs barking and nipping at their feet and heels to herd them into the pen, right? And that's what they want to do to you. To you, they are, or to you, or to them, I should say, you are a sheep, right? And I thought that was very interesting. And people have been pointing out, too, that Gates funded a program that will soon offer in-home testing kits for the new coronavirus. This seems like this has been sitting around waiting to be used, and just another reason why we should be really skeptical of these people, because they have the most to lose. These people who are billionaires and in some cases, as Q alluded to, trillionaires, they have the most to lose because they've been secretly controlling and corrupting and blackmailing or bribing huge portions of our electorate and huge portions of our corporate industries, and they've taken control. And President Trump is literally engaged in a silent war against this corruption that is global, right? It's not just the human sex trafficking. It's not just the corruption. It's not just the financial market corruption or the big tech corruption or corporate corruption as a whole. It's a conflagration of all these things that we're fighting against, that we're standing up against. So, not to mention you have people inside of the administration saying that or not inside the administration, excuse me, people inside of government, I should say, Congress, who Jackie Spear is a great example, a Democrat from California, who says that President Trump should cancel all of his rallies over coronavirus, but doesn't say anything about Democrats holding rallies. Well, I guess that's fair enough, because there's only like 12 people at a Biden rally, so it's not much infection that's going to be spreading from there, I guess. I guess if you get 10, 20, 30, 50,000 people in a room, you might have a little bit of a case to be made there. But at the same time, it just shows the hypocrisy of the left and how it is rules for thee, but not for me. That is the way they look at you. You are just an inconvenience to their ability to get more power. Right? You're just an inconvenient simpleton who lives in the middle of the country who nobody should really listen to. We should only listen to California, New York, and maybe a few other states, but you don't matter if you don't live there and you're not a Democrat. That's the way these people act, and that's the way these people live. And that was something I wanted to talk about. CNBC's Jim Cramer goes after Trump. You know why? Because these are the snakes. These are the snakes. Remember that. Remember, the people who you are taught to trust the most are the snakiest snakes of all, because they're the individuals who want nothing more than power and money, and they'll do anything to get it, and they'll say whatever they have to attain that power, and they're basically just acting as shills for their overlords who they've bequeathed their fortunes to in order to have a chance at a greater fortune. Meaning, these people will turn over everything they have into this system to just see a number on a screen that tells them how much richer they are than you. It's past the point where they could afford anything they'd ever want or need. Now, I'm not a socialist. I am a capitalist, and I think capitalism is great, and I think that we should all seek to achieve more. But people, in my opinion, who make their fortune off interest rates, who make their fortune off, these speculative market movements and short selling and all that stuff, these people, they don't care about the United States. They care about their bank account. And if the coronavirus happens to affect their bank account, then they are terrified, and they are going to go after anyone they can and anyone they have to try to get the system to address their losing a few 100,000 or a few million here and there. So look, I don't feel much sympathy for these people, yet at the same time, we have courts ruling that Google can legally manipulate searches to influence political results. Now, this is an article from Big League Politics talking about the fact that Google just won this court case against Tulsi Gabbard, who complained and said that because they refused her an ad sale, and they said that her account got frozen at a critical time in the initial stages of the Democrat primary, that it was basically a way for Google to effectively silence her voice on the largest platform in the world and tank her ability to get momentum as a candidate. Now, the court ruled that Google is a private company and they have no ability to work inside of the parameters of Congress. They don't select people to run for office. It says here, Google does not hold primaries. It does not select candidates. It does not prevent anyone from running for office or voting in elections. To the extent Google regulates anything, it regulates its own private speech and platform. So this has got to change. We got to take this fight to the top of the Supreme Court. Now, I get in this particular instance what they're getting at, but ultimately, people are going to use this case ruling as a precedent to say, oh, well, we can't say what we want. We can't have First Amendment rights on these platforms, which is insane because they're protected by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which literally makes them into these untouchable firms. They have special government protections from liability, right? Yet they're afforded that, and they say they can, take away your First Amendment and take away your rights. How does this work together? And that's the question we have to keep asking ourselves as we go forward, looking at the Twitter executives, right? Today we had a video come out. It was Dan Scavino posted a video of Joe Biden literally saying we can't do anything but elect Trump. It was his words, not a doctored video at all. They labeled it manipulated media. What? It's not manipulated. It's just a clip of Joe Biden in his exact words saying something he said on the campaign trail. But these people hate President Trump. They hate Dan Scavino, right? Look at this guy, Ian Brown. He works over at Twitter. He's the senior engineering manager. This is a Washington Examiner article talking about this Ian Brown, who's at IGB on Twitter, saying all of these negative things, right? All I want for Christmas is Dan Scavino and Donald Trump to go to jail. And this is back in 2018 in December. Wow. And these are the people working at these major corporations who are, supposedly non-biased, non-partisan. These people are as partisan and as biased as you could possibly humanly be. They have a loathing disdain for patriots who love this country, who want justice. They have a disdain for people who don't believe in their psychotic liberal leftist talking points and their platform issues like, late-term abortion or taking away all of our guns or opening up our borders and giving Medicare to anyone in the world who walks across it. I mean, if you disagree with them, if you fall out of their authoritarian lockstep, then you are the one who is the enemy. And they'll make sure you hear that very quickly. Now, that's pretty much where I'm going to wrap it up. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. A few more things before we go. I want to remind you, hit the subscribe button if you haven't watched these videos. Share them on your social media because like we just talked about, there's obviously a content suppression algorithm. And don't forget to go ahead and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of it. Also, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. It's a better browser. It's free. Use the link in the description to download it today. Run it and install it on your computer and you'll love it. It blocks ads. It makes your internet experience that much better. And when you use the link in the description, they'll make a contribution to this channel. So it's a win-win. And I thank you for that. Now, a few other ways you can help out the channel. Come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformedYou. We can connect and have a conversation over here. Also, I'm on justinformednews.com. BitChute.com/JustInformedTalk is the backup channel. Patreon.com if you want to make a monthly donation. This is the place to do it. Come over here on Patreon, sign up. You guys keep this channel going. I also have a GoFundMe set up if you'll make a one-time or anonymous donation. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, I want to share this verse with you. And I was thinking to myself, I'm going, how do I rationalize all the stuff that's happening here, and with the fact that I'm a Christian evangelist, or anyone out there who's just even a Christian, if you're looking at this and going, man, a lot of this seems very negative. What does God tell us to do? Well, God tells us specifically what to do to stand up to this. And it comes out of the book of Romans, and it's chapter 13, verses 1 through 6 or 7. And it says, or actually it's just 1 through 4. It says, everyone must submit to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist are instituted by God. So then, the one who resists the authority is opposing God's command, and those who oppose it will bring judgment on themselves, for rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do good, and you will have its approval. For government is God's servant to you for good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, because it does not carry the sword for no reason. For government is God's servant, an avenger that brings wrath on the one who does wrong. Now, those words I had to read over and over and over again to understand it fully, but I think I understand where we're at in our society. I think it's very clear to me that President Trump's embracing God, that the soldiers and patriots and all the people across the board who are helping in this fight against evil understand that if we don't put God above everything else, we will fail. And just like it says here, if our government is basically putting God first and fighting for the things that matter to us as Christians, right? And then we are to support it and do everything we can to submit to it in a way that helps, right? Helps in that battle against evil. And that's the way I look at it. It's just my opinion. I hope maybe this helps you understand it better for yourself, because I have the same, I think, dilemmas all the time, where I think, I'm taught to all of these principles and ideas about what it means to be Christian. But then I also have to remember that if we want to live peacefully, if we want to coexist, if we want to have this peace and prosperity that lasts for generations, we have to not only submit ourselves to God first, but then look at our governing authorities and then how they act and what they do. And what President Trump has shown me over the last 4 years is that he submits to God, he puts God first above all else, and that he's fighting for what's right based on what we know is right. And that's really what I come down to on it, and I really hope that these words help you figure out better for yourself more about this. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, but I want to say thank you guys for watching. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments below, and also hit it, punch it, tap it, headbutt it, hit that like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.